Hi, my name is Leah and welcome to Leah's Tidying World. I actually changed the channel name. It was Leah's Tidying World, but I made it Leah's Tidy World. So, because I think it just flows better. But anyway, hi and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today I wanted to talk to you about something that was largely said in Less is Now, which is the new minimalism documentary by the Minimalists. Joshua Fields-Milburn and Ryan Nikademous. And yeah, so I have some notes right here. I will kind of refer to these. But it was basically said that one of the things, or the thing even, like one of the things that, like the big things that make us spend so much and buy so much, accumulate so much stuff, is that we're constantly told, or it's constantly being put to us, that we are not enough, and that simply isn't true, right? If you ask yourself, are you enough? Even if you might not always feel this way, we know in our heads, technically, yes, we are enough. It's something a lot of positive, like self-help, positivity, affirmations tell us is that, yes, I'm good enough. So, and like it's constantly through adverts or, you know, being bombarded. When you're on social media, there's adverts. Right here, there's adverts. I don't know if you've seen one before, probably not yet, but no, you wouldn't have. But well, depending on when you watch this, I don't know. But there's adverts on YouTube. I'm not trying to single out any one particular company because there's ads everywhere. There's billboards, there's catalogs, there's adverts everywhere, all of them somehow creating a need, telling you want this or you need this, what you actually don't need. Constantly. So if you it kind of boils down to, when you think about what do all these messages have in common, is they tell you you're not good enough as you are. You need this or you need that to make your life better, to be good enough, to be worth enough. And I thought it was so interesting. I wanted to share with you what this lady said, that what are the ways of being enough? Like how can we counteract that, is now the interesting question for me. So she mentioned community, purpose, and identity. And to add to identity, the identity was, she added, besides the brand. So besides whatever, you know, you're acquiring, if you don't acquire it, who are you? So, community, purpose, and identity. And I wanted to share those with you because I think it's interesting and probably deserves being thought about in depth a little bit more. How can we build up a community? How can we find a deeper sense of purpose? What is our identity? Which obviously is an individual question. Each of us has to answer this question for ourselves, I suppose. But when it comes to community, for example, or it's a bit more general, but how do you find your identity? You know, that's something that can be discussed, and a social media platform like this is a great platform to discuss that. So we all know how can we counteract that feeling of not enough. And I suppose these big brands that make money on us, or even however small they may be, benefit from us. This lady, Nadia Kadlia, said a long time ago that there's a lot of money to be made on our insecurities, and that's kind of rephrasing it in a different way is exactly that. It's like that sense of not being good enough. And also, for the first time, I realized, I understood what people meant by this empty feeling, because I didn't think I had a sense of an empty feeling. When people said they felt empty, I always wondered, how can you feel empty? How can you live your life feeling empty? But I think I understand now that I think what they mean is that sense of not being good enough, because it makes you feel, I suppose, empty in that sense that you don't feel like you don't feel worth as much as you anymore, and you don't feel good enough. So finally, after so many years of life, I got to understand what people mean when they say I feel empty. Correct me if I'm wrong, let me know if you know this feeling, you know, how does that look for you. But excuse me please. There is this lady, I forgot her name, but I always know her name reminds me of Maris Piper. She's a hypnotherapist, and I don't remember the name, but she's also, I think, here on YouTube as well. Not limited to, but and I think she also has a YouTube presence. And this was a while back that I heard her say that's supposed to be like the solution to like everything. I don't know, but that you are supposed to tell yourself every single day, you are enough. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. And repeat that daily. And at the time I didn't think as much by it. I mean, I thought quite something by it, enough to remember it obviously, but I didn't. I think it's now that I see a greater significance to that, because when they told us in the documentary how I just put things on a, like, you got to see the big scale of how many adverts do you see per day, how many times are we actually subliminally told. And it's not telling as such, because that would, if it was more directly, I think we would notice it more, and we would we'd be smart enough to see through that and see, no, sorry, I know I'm good enough, even though that it would still have an impact on you. If somebody told you multiple times a day, you know, you're not good enough, you know, of course it would still affect you probably, but we might be at least mentally smarter, like cognitively, no, even if it's emotionally, you might still feel differently, but at least we would probably see through it a little bit better. But it's like such a subliminal messaging, I don't want to say that, but like bombardment of little, you know, like nudges, like, hey, you know, did you know you're not good enough here, you don't own this item, so you this item, you don't own that, you haven't done this yet, you haven't spent your money on this and this yet. So I just got to realize how many times we grow up in this world too. It's not just like somebody tells you something daily. It's like we grow up in a world when you're so young and so impressionable still. As soon as you watch TV, unless it's like a children's channel like Kika in Germany, you're bombarded with adverts, with the new Barbie doll you don't own, or whatever toy it may be. So you're still very impressionable. That's bound to have an impact on you. So when I thought of the large scale that this happens at, I started like realizing the significance of what she had said, that you know, to repeat yourself daily that you are good enough. I don't remember if she said you're enough. I think she said you're enough. I'm just gonna say you're good enough, but for that for us to counteract this huge bombardment with this information that we are not enough, we are not good enough, we have to do something, right? It's such a large scale when you realize it. So like, no wonder we feel like we're not enough, or feel like we're not worth it. And so many of us struggle with the challenge of self-esteem, self-love, self-worth. And so many of us go through that, but it's a global scale actually when you think about it, so it's quite shocking, if you will, quite surprising. And so I wonder if that's another way that we can counteract that feeling, by telling ourselves multiple times a day the exact opposite, which is you are enough, you are good enough, or I am good enough, I am good enough. Sorry, that's my tummy. So I wonder if you tried it out. Please let me know how it goes. Let me know how you feel and what impact it has on you. It would be awesome to see, awesome to read what difference it made or not, and for us to exchange like experiences and ideas. But that could be a way to counteract this problem, this information, false information being put to us that we are not good enough unless we own this, or unless we buy this. But then it's still not enough, because then you need to buy the next, you know, buy the next thing, or that's what is being asked of you. And then this dude in the Less Is Now documentary also mentioned that on a need for 3 things that he said are fulfilling on a deeper level than stuff. And those 3 things I wanted to share with you are progress, meaning, and intimacy. So I think in intimacy we can like include relationships. I think that's like another way of saying it for me. And I wanted to quote one of the things he said, which was, "We're binging on all the wrong things and dying of hunger for the things that really matter." And I think that's such an impactful statement to make. And I was like, when I heard it, I was like, yeah, wow, that is so true. I had a personal thought. I don't know if I want to share this, but I thought I will share with you these things in the hope that, one, you will come to the realization of this, you know, going on, which is probably, you know, who can deny it, but let me know in your experience, how have you experienced these things, like adverts, and the impact they have on the human psyche, and more importantly, so we can begin to find ways of how we can counteract that and turn around and make ourselves realize that we are enough, we are good enough, even if we don't own every little thing there is to own in this world, because who can do that anyway, right? Like, and one other sentence that I hadn't written down, but it was also mentioned in the documentary, this other person said that you will never own everything that you want to own, and that's so true. Like, have you ever noticed how if you have more money or you have less money, you still end up spending too much money? Like, you end up spending more money if you have more money. A lot of us do anyway. And that kind of proves that point. Like, we might as well not own everything, not try to own everything we want, because we will never own everything we want. And like, our wants kind of grow, or like, bigger picture, you think you have more money, so you see more things, or you see more expensive things, or something like that. So, like, they mentioned that in the documentary, when they like got a better job or a better paid job or something, got a promotion, that their kind of expenses also grew. And, well, there's one thing having reasonable expenses, but then there's another thing to just dream bigger. Dreaming is great, but when it comes to wish fulfillment, if you buy those things, you either end up in debt, or you just like end up having no money again because you spent more, of course. Or just also, but it has such a meaning in terms of the wish fulfillment. When you try to make yourself happy, you think maybe this is it, maybe this is the thing that will make me happy. Suddenly it's not a toy from somewhere, or, well, toy would be a kid's thing, but like, suddenly it's not a tote bag, suddenly it's a car or something. And is it more fulfilling? No, it just costs you more money. So that's another point I wanted to make, and another thing I wanted to point out. And I would love to hear what other ideas you have, how you think this may be counteracted, or if you work with any of my suggestions, or, well, my suggestions, they came from the documentary, but I'm kind of summarizing them, summon them up against me. How that works for you. And let me read this quick. I just had a thought about decluttering, which was the personal thought I mentioned, is that it's hard to let go of it rather than that you actually need it. Because Ryan did this experiment where he put everything in boxes and was only allowed to take out what he needed, and at the end of the experiment, like, when he had everything he needed, 80% of his items of his possessions were still in those boxes. So that made me think, you know, even like, it's a perceived need when it comes to decluttering. You think you still need it, you still love it so much, you still want it, you have your attachment, you want to hold on to it, but it is a perceived need. But is it really a need? I think probably 80% guesstimate. It's not an actual need, it's more like it's harder to let go rather than that you actually need the item. And it's hard to let go due to attachments. So yeah, I wanted to talk to you about these things. I wanted to share this with you. I hope you found this useful. I feel like I should add some more things, but you know, maybe there'll be a part 2 or something. I don't know. I don't want to promise that, but I feel like I should get into how can we build community, how can we find a sense of purpose, a sense of identity, and, you know, make progress, find meaning and intimacy in relationships, so that we can better counteract this. But I hadn't really thought this through. I'm also learning, I'm also figuring things out. It's only just yesterday that I heard of these things, so I just thought I'd come on here and share this with you. But let me know if you have any further thoughts in the comment section below, and if you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget, it's Leah's Tidy World now. And yeah, let me know if you found it useful. I'd love to hear from you. And, you know, thank you for watching. I hope you liked this. Let me know how informative you found it, and I really hope this helped, because I think it's important to think this deeply, because it can really help us. It can help us in decluttering, it can help us in like spending habits, if you're striving for a minimalist lifestyle, which is kind of connected to decluttering. But yeah, understanding our spending habits, like our shopping habits. Also, if anyone suffers from shopping addictions or hoarding, you know, all these things. But also just to make our lives more fulfilling, if we really focus on those 6 things mentioned: community, purpose, identity, progress and meaning, and intimacy, then this can really help a person to have a fulfilled, meaningful lifestyle. How these minimalists, you see them online and they always talk about that. They always talk about how they found out what's really important to them, and it's the people and spending time with loved ones, and it's all those things rather than stuff. So I think this can really back us up, be a bit of a backbone of society, be really helpful and useful more than things are, because at the end of the day at the end of the day, they're just things, they're just items, and you either stuff your house more, or, you know, like, it's not necessarily that all of them are useless, but they are just items. And it's interesting that they mentioned in the documentary, in a way we perform idol worship. Now, if you know, you might be atheist, or you might be this or that, you might be pagan, but not only Muslims or Christians will know that worshipping stuff is not the right idea to have. It's not really, and we don't notice we're doing it. But if you put an item on a pedestal, like, I really need to own this. This is like, you think it's the wish fulfillment of the century, where if you only own this thing, it'll make you so much better, so much worth so much more, or, you know, suddenly be the fulfillment. We don't think we're doing it while we're doing it. So it's really important to have awareness of this. So I really hope this video helped with that, and I would love to hear from you guys what your thoughts are on the subject. And yeah, like I said, subscribe, comment, share, and like, and I hope to see you soon. And if I ever think a bit more deeply on how these 6 things can be implemented, then hopefully I will be able to share those with you as well. But I don't want to promise anything for now. We have this part 1, so I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. And if you haven't checked out my other decluttering videos, go ahead and do so. They're hopefully fun to watch, so I'll see you in the next one. Thanks again. Bye guys, take care.